Hey guys, hey lambs, welcome back to the Hey Lamb podcast. I am Matt, aka Treacle, your host for this podcast, completely dedicated to all things Mariah Carey, and I've got a couple of guests for you today. Joining me, first of all, welcome back to the podcast, I've got Will from Manchester. Hey Will, how are you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm good. Hope everyone is doing well today.
Welcome back. Last time you were on the podcast, we were talking about Mariah's UK album sales and certifications and chart positions, things like that. Today we're going to be getting stuck into the singles side of things, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So thank you for joining us. And also welcome back to the podcast, Tyrone. Hey Tyrone, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Good. So Tyrone, you joined me just to have a chit chat about all things Mariah, and everyone got to know you, and we got to, well, I loved it, but it was a random one because we spent a lot of time talking about Mariah's hair because...
You did, yes. You know how I feel about hair. You know, it has to be A1.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we had a whole conversation talking about Mariah's hair because that is what you do, that is what you know, and I did pick your brain a little bit, well, more than a little bit. But you guys are together here on the podcast for the very first time. So Tyrone and Will have just met each other very quickly off camera. And very interestingly, Will, you're in Manchester. Tyrone, you're about to move to Manchester.
Fine. Well, yes. So it would be nice to have a friend, especially a lamb friend. Because listen, I have one lamb friend, and we ain't gonna talk about him. But anyway, that's all I have. I have no lamb friends, basically. So hopefully we'll be.
I'll introduce you to some lambs.
Thank you.
I will introduce you to a lot of lambs in Manchester. I'll take you to the clubs that play Mariah. That's all that matters, because there's certain clubs that you can go to in Manchester that play Mariah. So
when I used to go out in clubs, I would ask the DJ to play Mariah. They'd look at me like, no. And I'm like, why? Like, no, we don't play Mariah.
Oh, that's not enough. I'm like, no, you will play it. And then what I'll do is I'll get all my mates to go up as well. So they go and ask that DJ. So by the end, he's just like, listen, I'm just going to play it to shut them up because I send everyone over. I'm like, go and ask for it.
They always play it, but it's like that or obsessed. In London, that's what we would get usually. I'm like, at least we get something, beggars can't be choosers. So.
It's like that. It's probably the one that you're most likely to get here as well. We get fantasy as well a lot of it, but it's like that is the one that they mainly play. Maybe a bit obsessed. You might get obsessed, but it's like that is definitely the number one most played Mariah, and fantasy as well.
So I haven't been to Manchester in my memory since Mariah toured there with the Charm Bracelet World Tour. I'm trying to think if I've been there for any work reasons. Quite possibly I've been through Manchester. So I can't say that I go to Manchester very often at all, but if I do, then I know two lambs that can take me out and show me a good night, and we can...
100%. Exactly. Absolutely.
So before we get stuck into today's content, we were talking a little bit before we came onto the podcast about previous podcast episodes and the episode that was the media's mistreatment of Mariah, and you guys had a couple of interesting stories that I'd love for you guys to actually share with the listeners. So Tyrone, you have been doing the Lord's work, so tell everyone what you told me before.
So like I said, I have two jobs. I'm a wig maker and I'm out on the streets defending Mariah. So I think this was back in 2018. I was at work. It was 2018 and it was around December time. And this was on the Daily Mail website. And the slogan was, all Mariah Carey wants is a new dress size for Christmas. And I was like, that one irked me. I was like, nah, they ain't having that one. So I emailed them and I said, number one, you're being disrespectful. Number two, you're using a picture from the year before when she was a bit thicker, but the picture still looked good. So anyway, and you're being nasty to women, and they emailed me back, apologizing, and they took the story off because it's false. You're posting a lie. Like listen. And I told all my friends, I'm like, I got my girl taken off to the Daily Mail because these people are nasty.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's my story.
Love it. That's a badge of honor. Like that should be like in your Twitter bio. You're not on Twitter. Your Instagram bio, and yeah. Let me get that out quickly. I'm really sorry. Like poor housekeeping here on the pod kids. But you can catch Tyrone on Instagram. You're not on Instagram. Sorry, you're just on. Sorry, you're not on Twitter. You're just on Instagram.
Yes, I'm not on Instagram. No, sorry, I'm not on Twitter.
I'm confusing you now.
I can't handle Twitter.
Can't handle Twitter
on Instagram.
But Tyrone,
on Instagram.
if you if you get mad at what you read in the press about Mariah, you do not want to be on Twitter, because you will be
Oh,
getting
really?
into arguments
No,
24/7
we want him. We want him on Twitter.
on Twitter. They can get away
It
with whatever they want on Twitter. It's unbelievable.
it does get pretty rough on Twitter. So we don't have Tyrone on Twitter yet, but you can get him over on Instagram. It's Tyrone's story. And Will, you're going to tell us a little story about your experience with the devils in the media. You are on Instagram as will.m1, and you're on Twitter
That's
as
correct.
this_is_will_.
Yeah, very long-winded.
Okay, now
Somebody else took my name.
give us your story.
So very similar to Tyrone, living in the UK, the media here are an absolute nightmare for just twisting any kind of story, or they'll say things and they'll spoon feed things to the media, and people believe it, they buy into it. This week, actually, which is interesting because we're having this podcast right now, but I've actually been inundated with messages from my Twitter, something I tweeted out about something that a radio presenter said about a singer on air, which was completely untrue, and it was like a really sensitive subject. It's about the singer's actually got cancer, and the radio presenter said something about that which was really out of order. So I was just like, come on, we're not having this. Like, I put a tweet out saying, this is unacceptable, we can't allow this kind of thing to be said. Like, we need to stand up to it, basically, because they get away with making up too much rubbish. I was going to say a different word then, but they get away with making up too much rubbish. Like, and people believe it in the UK. They are so bad for just believing whatever they read in the media. It's like, oh yeah, Mariah's a diva. She wants all these dogs or whatever it is they said.
Kittens, red carpets, candles.
That's it.
Honestly, blue M&Ms.
Like I said to you guys when I went to the wedding, that the lady was like, "Oh, I can't stand Mariah. She's vile." And it's like, what? Like, how? She ain't
Based
Donald Trump.
On what?
Like, what? Like that is a vile person. Like, based because what? Even if she wanted a red carpet, what, you wouldn't want a red carpet when you're walking into somewhere? Like, come on, these people. Like, it's just. Ugh.
And the issue is, they would have so much more detest for someone like Mariah Carey than they would than someone that's out there like doing like really harmful things. Like, we're not going to get into politics, but like the government that are doing certain things, that they'll have a stronger opinion about how much they hate Mariah Carey, which has had no impact on their life whatsoever, rather than they would about the government, where they're doing things that would potentially like impact their life, and they've got a strong opinion about Mariah Carey, and it's actually ridiculous.
It got very real, very quick on the pod here today. But I love it. I love it. I love the passion, and I think, Tyrone, if we ever can tempt you onto Twitter, you will be busy for days. Right, let's kind of pivot back to what we're actually going to talk about today, which is Mariah's UK singles chart history, which is why I was very happy to invite you back onto the podcast, Will, because you are the lamb that I go to for, chart knowledge and background. We had a really interesting discussion the last time you were on the podcast, talking about album sales and certifications and chart positions, and it actually took us quite a while to get into the actual chart positions, because we had a really interesting conversation with Taz from Ireland about how it works and the politics and all of that, and it's just super interesting. And we only spoke about Mariah's albums. I said, let's just leave the singles for another day. So that's something that we'll get into shortly, is actually looking at some numbers and things. But first of all, I was just reflecting before we jumped on together today, the three of us, is singles it's so different now to how it was before. It's so different. If I just think back to Caution, about songs being available before the album but it's not a single. GTFO was a buzz or a hype single, whatever she called it, and then there's the official single, and then there's songs that are released, Will, you were explaining, is for the benefit to get onto playlists. Like, long gone are the days of CD1, CD2, a single is a physical thing and it is what it is. What do you guys make of this?
I think they should make a different category, because when Lil Nas' song took over Mariah Carey's, like the 16 weeks, One Sweet Day, that actually irked me a little bit. I was like, that it doesn't even make sense, because people actually went out to buy the CD. They actually went out. A click, it's not the same. So that is not beating a record to me. It's impossible. That I think they should have. when they need to change it because it's not the same. You can't have people beating records today because it's a click of a button, then actually people going out. Do you know what I mean? It's like
But
I don't think it's
I do have to say, like at the other side of the coin, Mariah Carey wouldn't be having all this success with All I Want for Christmas every year if it wasn't for the same thing. So there is two sides to the coin.
yeah.
Like I
I
do
get
agree what
that.
you're saying. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Do not get me wrong. But then you do have to think, right? Listen, Mariah Carey is the only artist really in the world that is guaranteed to be like having a number one pretty much every single year to the end of time while these
And it's
charts are
not
going like
physical.
this.
It's not
It's
physical.
not
It's
physical.
okay. There's a few things on her store for us to get, like those those signed CDs that took me nearly 20 months to receive. But
Yeah.
it
Oh, and
is.
me.
It's radio. It is digital. It is YouTube.
Uh-huh.
It's just different. But I do understand what you are saying, Tyrone, because that kind of hit
I
me a
do.
certain way as well.
Mm.
Yeah, because it isn't the same. It isn't the same, but it's never going to be the same. So
Mm.
it's like you say, oh, they've broken that record, but it's a different game though. So it's
Yeah,
not the same record. It's like a new record in a way.
yeah, and a new digital record. That's
Yeah.
what it should have been.
It makes a massive impact because going back to the conversation now, back in I don't know, like let me just give a year. Mariah was in a peak like 97 in the 90s basically. People obviously had to physically go out, buy the CD. You could get CD1, CD2, the vinyl, blah blah blah. So it was people physically buying it, whereas now it's just like you say, pressing play
Yeah,
on your phone, streaming it. So to sell an X amount of copies to be certified now is a lot easier
yeah.
than it was
Oh,
back in the
yeah.
90s. So you've got these new artists like Dua Lipa who are massive on streaming playlists who are selling ridiculous amounts of copies because the song's getting streamed so much so that her
Mm.
sales look like they're going to be up there with Mariah soon if it carries on the way it is. But in reality, it's a complete different amount of
Yeah.
money and amount of time and effort that's
Mm-hmm.
gone into making that hit.
Yeah.
It's
the convenience of it, because I've got loads of shit on playlists that we were talking about
Mhm.
playlists again before we came on,
Mhm.
and I've got stuff that I'm like, yeah, tap, 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 put it in. Let's make use of
Mhm.
my Apple Music subscription, so I'll be adding things to playlists. I wouldn't go down to Woolworths and buy half the shit that's on my phone, like back in the day. No way.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
I had quite an impressive, if I do say so myself, Mariah Carey CD collection, which was based around CD singles, and I sold it in 2016. I got rid of the whole thing because I was moving abroad and it was an indefinite thing and it was a full-time job and it
Storage.
was open. I know. But you know what? It was
Did you
already
sell it
in
as a collective?
storage. No, I
Like as
broke it
one?
apart. I had Crybaby promo. I had the Against All Odds Mexican promo where it's like the zoom in of the rainbow cover, black and white. I had Underneath the Stars promo card CD. I had the Spanish Open Arms on CD. I had the Reflections CD from, is it Korea? Oh my! There's Got to Be a Way picture CD single. I had so much. I had about 250 CDs going from debut all the way through to Emancipation era, and then it had been in storage, and I wasn't displaying it and enjoying it. And then when I moved abroad, if I'd known I was only going to stick with the job for 18 months, get bored and come home, I would have actually put more in storage. But I packed up my house, I rehoused my cats, I sold furniture, I sold everything. I boiled my life down to 4 little storage boxes and put them with my parents. And part of that whole process, it just felt like quite healthy. But the Mariah
I
CD
get it.
collection, I'll be honest, I do regret. And with MC30 getting all the vinyl is because I let all the CD singles go. But that, in a way, that was like a period of time because I used to love CD singles. What's on
Uh-huh.
CD1, what's on CD2. CD2 sometimes came with like the fold out poster.
Yeah.
Or
I had it all.
or the CD-ROM and you get the video. Did you guys
Yeah.
collect
I was
CD
at all.
singles?
My
All
mum
of it.
loved. She always got CDs, but I was a late bloomer. I was a late lamb, so it was not like I was collecting CDs. In the 90s.
How about you, Will?
Do you know, as a kid, we had an independent music store in where I lived, like because I live in like a little town, but it's not far from Manchester. It's only like 20 minutes. And we used to have like this little independent music store, and he would know, even me as a kid, when I was like I want to say like 12, 13, he would put aside all the promos for Mariah, any like CD1, CD2, like all the stuff that come in from America or promos that we sent to the radio station. So I've got so much promo stuff, like, because he just really took me under his wing, because he was like, oh, this little kid is obsessed with music. He used to come in and he used to have the chart written down on the desk. It's like the top 75 that wasn't played on the radio because he only did top 40. So I'd come in every Monday and look at it, and he'd be like, right, I'll put this aside for you, because he knew that obviously as a kid I wouldn't be able to afford everything straight away. So he'd put it aside, whereas like the spends would all go on CDs and promo CDs. So my CD collection, which is in my mum and dad's cellar, is like, there's so much like stuff in that cellar which is like rare, like promos, posters, like everything.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're however old, and you've got a supplier.
I was like 10, 12, 11, 13. Like, yeah, he used to like put loads of stuff aside for me.
I would just be online. I would be on EIL.com. There was a website, matscdsingles.com. I'd be on these different, and I would always like to have something when I was collecting Mariah CD singles. There always had to be something in the post, either from a website or from eBay. If there was a week and I wasn't expecting anything in the post, there was no like excitement in the air. And then those Jiffer bags, come through the post, and you're like, wait, what is it? What is it? You rip into it. I had some pretty rare ones. I don't want to think too much about it because I make myself sad. We are going to delve into Mariah's UK chart history when it comes to her singles right after this very quick break. Thanks for listening to Hey Lamb, guys. I hope you are enjoying it. If you are, you can leave me a little tip. You can buy me a drink over on buymeacoffee.com. It is a great way to show your support to your favorite creators by buying them a drink. Simply head over to buymeacoffee.com/heylamb and you can tip me with a little drink. Cheers. And we are back. So let's now, after circling the subject, let's actually get stuck into the meat of the topic this week. Let's start talking about Mariah's UK chart history when it comes to her singles. So, Will, it's such a big field, so let's start wherever you want. I don't mind.
Well, let's start with figures. So in terms of sales, it's again the same as albums. It's done on certifications. It's more with the singles than it is with the albums. So you can go platinum, which is 600,000 copies sold, gold, 400,000 copies sold, and silver, 200,000 copies sold. And that is how they measure who is like the most successful female artist or who sold the most. They have songs that haven't been certified, but they don't really get counted in the terms of like in stats and what's the most. So Mariah has had 24 top 10 hits. So again, we're going back to this, like, I don't know, this obsession that some people have with saying that Mariah Carey is not big outside America. In the UK, she's had 24 top 10 hits.
I believe that, like, I would have, well, I believe it, you're telling me, but if you had asked me to guess, I would have said somewhere around 20, because I feel like she's, there's been that many singles released, and there have been, although she's not had the number ones over here, she has had chart success, particularly in the 90s. So I would have guessed, somewhere around mid to high 20s.
And also, I don't think people realize like what an achievement it is to have like number one singles. Like like Mariah Carey said, not everybody has that. It's quite a hard thing to do.
And especially in the UK, it is a lot more difficult to get someone, because if you're not over in this country promoting that song, so this is obviously going back in the day now, like when we're talking about Mariah's peak, if you're not on Top of the Pops, if you're not doing a performance, if you're not on, I want to say like CD UK, if you remember that, SMTV Live and Kicking, all them kids TV programs, if you're not doing the chat shows, if you're not doing interviews with the magazines, your name's not getting out there, you are going to struggle to get to number one. And when you're a worldwide massive artist like Mariah Carey, it is impossible to put yourself in every single country to promote a single. So yes, she did focus on America, but we were still getting, and you've got to remember, a lot of Mariah's hits were before the internet. So if she wasn't here promoting it, you couldn't promote it on the internet. Like, you had to physically be there to promote the music. Now you can promote everywhere, all over the world. Obviously, we all know that. But it didn't used to be like that. So getting a number one you had to come to this country. You had to do that performance on Top of the Pops. You had to do the kids' TV shows. You had to do all the rounds. I remember Saturday was the busiest day for CD sales. So if you performed on, we used to have CD UK, Live and Kick In. Do you remember? If you didn't perform on them, you weren't going to get to number one that week because you had to physically be seen and heard to get to number one.
It's a really good reminder. Top of the Pops was Friday nights, right? And then you've got CD UK, and I always, would look at summer shows, not Top of the Pops, but I'd look at like CD UK, and I'm like, really, I'm hungover in a queue to going to CD UK. Like, what is Mariah doing CD UK? But she needs to, and she understood, and her team understood the game that she was playing, and we know Mariah was working, loads and way too much.
She worked her arse off.
But she really did care, and I never really thought about it that way that you just put it. Well, that's really interesting. That Friday night, Top of the Pops, Saturday morning, CD UK Kids TV, because Saturday was the day. Saturday's the day you go into town.
Big sales.
You go to WH Smith. You go to Woolworths. You go. Well, that's it really. Where else were you going? And you'd buy your CD singles and make the chart happen.
What you've heard, what you've heard on TV this morning, like it was so important to get on their morning TV shows, and that's probably where it was a lot more difficult for someone like Mariah. And I don't want to just name drop people here, but like someone like Kylie, who is more success based in the UK rather than worldwide. And that's no hate against Kylie, because I do like Kylie, but she could concentrate on this country. So that's why when you look at how many top 10 hits Kylie's had than Mariah, she's had a few more, but it's because she focused on the UK so much, whereas Mariah was spreading her success in all around the world pretty much. I know Kylie's been successful around the world, don't get me wrong, I know she has, but her focus was mainly on the UK, whereas Mariah has mainly focused on America. But in terms of top 10, Mariah is 24 top 10 hits. She's the fourth, sorry, let me word this correctly. Out of the female artists, she ranks the fourth most amount of top 10 hits in the history of the UK. So out of all the female artists that have ever charted in the UK, which is millions, Mariah is the fourth most successful in terms of top 10 hits.
Wow.
So that says it all, really. Like, she has been majorly successful in this country when it comes to charting.
It's a very pleasant reminder. It's a very welcome reminder, because there has been an absence, because we haven't had the albums like we used to. We get 4-year gaps now, it seems, between albums. Hopefully that's not the case right now with Caution and MC's 16.
Sorry to cut you off. Like, imagine like being a fan in the night, like because I joined quite later, like getting an album every year, like
everything. It was amazing.
Like, you would die. Each year is a different era. Like, imagine, like that is Mariah was giving the fans everything back then. Like, that's madness. Like,
and you've got to credit Mariah as well, because she wrote that stuff, whereas a lot of these artists were just getting stuff that was written for them. Mariah was banging us out a new album every year that she was writing and like doing the majority of the work. It is crazy to think about how overworked she was. I mean, it was great for us, like, but
exactly. But she has all the talent.
That she's out on tour promoting the current era, but at the end of the day, with the few hours that are left, she's already writing for the next era. It's crazy. But it's a really good reminder how you put it, well, because I've lived through some of those eras, even though I was a kid for much of it, but it is different now, because there's a bigger gap between albums, and I don't feel that like the UK is prioritized in the same way. And I completely agree. I get it. I agree. I'm so happy that she got the 19th number one in America with All I Want, and I think it was a bonus that it happened over here and all the other countries that it did. But I'm quite happy for her, because I say this sometimes, like, bittersweetly, but I don't feel like we deserve her here, because the press have just messed her up and messed her around, and she will always come here for the lambs. But I don't want her to play the press game, and it is different now. There is no Top of the Pop, CD UK, this and that, and blah blah blah. I'm quite happy for her to engage with the UK market remotely and digitally. So it is different. It is different. She doesn't promote the way she used to anywhere, but definitely over here. And I don't know that we're ever going to really see that.
But you know what? Let me just go back to the charts. This is an actual issue in the UK at the minute that a lot of artists are facing. There isn't any real TV shows where you go on and just perform music, Top of Pop, CD UK, everything's gone. And they were massive towards the charts. They were massively influential on what went into the charts. You used to have like people performing on, do you remember like GMTV and Daybreak and stuff like that? And This Morning, artists don't perform on there anymore either. So the amount of opportunities to come and promote a single and actually sing the song that you want to promote is very limited. So it's a massive issue in the whole music industry. So that even gives Mariah even less reason to come over here and promote. So in terms of number one hits, right? Do you guys know how many number one hits Mariah's had in the UK?
It's a pitiful amount over
It
here in
is
the UK.
pitiful.
And when I talk to US lambs, they're like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sure."
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Are you sure? Are you
I'm
sure?
sorry. I'm sorry it's so low,
It's
but
embarrassing.
it is just 3. And
It's just 3.
And the third one is very recent. For many years, it was just 2.
And do you know what? That's another thing about the UK that I'm going to say that's very different to America. We in this country, for some God known reason, are obsessed with cover versions. Like it is like, oh, we don't know what song to bring out a cover version. Like the UK radio eat that up like no other country. 2 out of 3 of her number one hits are cover versions.
So for anyone who's listening that isn't in the UK or familiar with the UK chart history when it comes to Mariah, Without You went to number 1 way back when, Music Box era, and then years later, Against All Odds, when she put Westlife on it, and that kind of
only because of them, really.
And it was like, okay, fine, whatever. But it always annoyed me that her 2 UK number ones were cover songs because, like you just said, Will, everything that she's written is amazing. And then I was so happy when we had the 25th anniversary of All I Want for Christmas Is You, and it stopped at number 2 again. So for us, it was a year later than on the Billboard Hot 100. But when it finally went to number 1, I was so happy because not only is it that one song that 9 out of 10 people over here love, but it is her first song that she's written and performed that's gone to number 1, because I do believe there was an X Factor cover of Hero that went to number 1.
That's correct, yeah.
So she has had a song that she's written go to number 1, but it wasn't her version. How fucked up is that? It's just crazy. Here in the UK, we love a cover version and we love a compilation or greatest hits album.
That's exactly.
They're habits that we are in. I think it is still pretty cool though that songs that she's written, if they do get covered and they do well on the charts. Was there like a dance remix of Emotions, or was it Someday? Like a few years back.
There was a sample that sampled Emotions, a dance bit. It didn't go to number 1, but like it was sampled.
But it did pretty well. But I feel like it's almost like a backdoor way, because a lot of people go, "Oh, Mariah Carey," they'll switch off. But then Hero, covered by X Factor, like whatever's, will do it, and people will be like, "Oh, like, but that is a Mariah Carey song that you've just downloaded. That is a Mariah Carey song that you're playing over and over. Like she wrote that.
She's getting the money."
It's so funny you said switch off. Like I think I said to you before, there was an are you aware of Kiki Wyatt, the singer?
Yeah, she's amazing.
So she was singing, and my friend was like, "Oh, Mariah Carey again." I was like, "That ain't Mariah." She said, "Oh," and after she found out it wasn't Mariah, she's like, "Oh, you liked it." I'm like, "So because you thought it was Mariah, do you know?" I'm tangent.
No, that's such a trash opinion to have.
Yeah, like she just felt something they just turned off, but hey, it is what it is.
I do find that with some people, it's just that switch, and you can't argue against that. You can't make them find any reason. Okay, well, let's continue.
So basically, as well, another thing that I wanted to point out in terms of Mariah's biggest hits in the UK, that you will find, not with just Mariah, with a lot of artists, that the first song from the album, so the one to launch it. So, for example, Honey, Fantasy, Heartbreaker, they're the biggest hits. So when you look at Mariah's big hits in the UK, she's had, like I said, Fantasy is one of the platinum selling hits in the UK. Heartbreaker, a massive selling hit in the UK also. What was the ones that she launched the albums with? Do you know what was a massive hit actually in the UK, which was a bigger hit here than America, was It's Like That off Emancipation of Mimi?
Yeah, we liked that, didn't we? We loved
that. That was a massive hit here, massive, whereas in America, like We Belong Together kind of, It's Like That did okay. I think it got top 20 if I remember correctly.
I think so.
But over here, it was top 5. It was a big hit because the first songs off the album are the ones that the UK radio seemed to push for Mariah. So because that was the first song off the album, that got a big push. even though I don't remember if she did a lot of promo for It's Like That Over Here. I think she did a few things.
I know she did Top of the Pops because that's the day I was there.
Yes,
I'm
she
trying to
did, and
think if she did any
I
other
think she did
shows.
CV UK as well.
Quite possibly.
But yeah, in terms of other hits that she's had, so out of them 24 top 10 hits, the top 5, the ones that have sold the most, a majority of them are the first song off the album. And it makes sense if you think about it, because that's the one that they want to launch the album with. Then back in the day, any other single that followed, they wanted really to sell the album rather more than the single. So they were like, right, you've heard this single, you like this single, you got this single top 5. Here's the next single, here's the next single. But with these ones, we want you to more be interested in buying the album now, because that's where the money is for the record label. Obviously, bigger profit, blah, blah, blah. So as you see each single go down the list, the chart position goes lower and lower in terms of the song released per era. So for me personally, like, this is just my personal opinion, I only think there has been one era in Mariah's whole discography, I said that word correct, where she has released the correct singles. Like, for me personally, the only album that I can look at and say, do you know what, the single releases for that album were perfect, and that is The Emancipation of Mimi. On the other albums, I think there's loads of different albums. So on the other albums, there's loads of different singles that she released that I thought, why did you release that instead of this one? Or, you know, that song did really well. Like, especially E equals MC squared is the biggest example. He had a massive hit with Touch My Body, and then followed it up with another cover version that, like, I Want to Know What Love Is, when there were so many songs on that album that could have continued the momentum.
And there are differences between the UK releases and the US releases, and even sometimes I forget because a lot of the time on social media, I find myself engaging in dialogue with predominantly USA lambs, and I forget actually. Well, we actually had that as an actual single. I know you know the video, but no, we had a CD release of that. That was something that charted, and I Want to Know What Love is a good example. I tell you what, I think that's something that we will get into in the after show. So for those of you guys that are on my YouTube channel, True Treacle, those who are members, every podcast is always more chat, always more conversation that can't make the main show, the main podcast show. So we have Hey Lamb Extra Chop, where we have the spillover conversation. So maybe that's what we'll touch upon in the after show, is songs that maybe should have been released from an album, or we can debate some single release choices and things in the after show. So if you guys are interested in that and other conversations with other guests from other episodes, then consider becoming a member of my YouTube channel, True Treacle, because that's a really interesting point, because everyone's got their own opinions on eras and what could have been a good single or what shouldn't have been a single. So talk us through the rest of the top 10 hits. Let's remind ourselves of things, Will, that did make top 10, because I wonder if there's anything that didn't make top 10 that I'm kind of expected, it did.
Yeah, no problem. So obviously I've gone through the 3 number ones. She's had 2 number 2s in the UK. So again, not that many really. The most frustrating thing was We Belong Together got to number 2, and it was leading all week right up until the end, and then right at the very last minute it got outsold, if you remember that. It was Elton John and Tupac song. Do you remember
yeah.
I can't remember what the song's called now. It was literally right at the last minute, and she was leading all week. It was really frustrating.
I remember it being expected that she was going to have the number 1 over here, and I was bitterly disappointed that it didn't happen.
Yeah. They used to have CD UK on a Saturday morning, and that was the sales up until Saturday, and they had the chart of where everything was at that point. But then obviously, like I said, Saturday was the biggest day for sales. So in the morning, Mariah Carey was number 1 with We Belong Together, but because Tupac and Elton John's song sold so much on the Saturday, it pipped it. And I remember it was something really, really, really low. I feel like it was like 100 copies or something like that. It's really frustrating.
Yeah,
so
it
We
can
Belong
happen
Together
like that over here. It really can happen where it's 100, 200, 300 copies and you're kicking yourself. I guess at least it wasn't like a novelty thing, because we love a lot of novelty shit over here in the UK as well. So I hope Mariah didn't feel too bad, at least, that it was Tupac and Elton John.
If the singles were £1 each and you knew she only needed 100 singles to get to number 1, would you guys go and spend £100?
Now, back then, I wouldn't have had £100 to do that. But if we I think at this point,
do you know what? I'd be like, I'll do
But-
I get a GoFundMe. Like,
But you know a few people. Okay, put it this way: like you know a few people. I feel like I know a few people now. And if I got slipped that little, DM or something like, Mariah's like 200 copies shy. You know I'm gonna be on my Instagram live. I'll do a YouTube live. I'll put it out there. Like, right, guys, I'm pledging 10 copies. I'll do it here on screen. Here's 10. Do you know what? Sod it. Here's another 10. Come on. I would use the platform.
I actually reckon that would work on Twitter. It would, because it'll get trend. Yeah. Okay.
That is another thing as well, that like kind of going off on a bit of a tangent, but you say it's interesting you say 99 pence, because that's what you value a song as in terms of what it costed for a song on iTunes. Well, back in the day when these songs were charting, a CD single was like $3.99.
Yeah.
So 99 pence is what you think of when you think of iTunes. Well, back then you were having to spend $3.99 to get a CD single. So if you was going to buy 10 copies, you're not spending £100, you're spending £400.
Yeah,
the value of money was more. The value of CDs was more. Sorry.
I have a memory of CD1 being like $1.99 or $2.99, and CD2 being like the $3.99, because that would have like the fold-out poster or the CD-ROM version, with the video version and whatever. So you'd be spending £6, £7, £8 to get both copies and support the single.
Right. So I take it you guys, when she releases albums, you guys buy them off iTunes and stream them Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. I buy. I always.
I did it on caution actually, but I did buy the album and I bought the vinyl, I bought the cassette, and I stream it.
At this point, you supported Mariah too much. I think you've got a basement full of CDs, so I think you've done your work. So
I definitely did my groundwork. So We Belong Together was a number 2 hit, frustratingly. She's had one other number 2 hit, and surprise, it's another cover version. It was I'll Be There.
Way back when.
MTV Unplugged, way back when. Her number 3 hits, again, we're going into more cover versions. Endless Love with Luther Vandross. So these are like classic Mariah's.
Love
that. That's in my top 5 all-time favorite songs.
Is it?
I messaged that about you today, didn't I? Said that's my favorite Mariah duet. I love the relationship that them two had.
Best receipt to pull out. Haters can't say nothing. Their favorite could never. Sorry.
This vocally. Honey was a number 3 hit here, which is another big hit for Mariah. I don't feel like that's one that gets as much like attention in terms of when people look back at Mariah's big hits. Like I don't feel like people really remember Honey.
Yeah.
But that was a number 3 hit over here. Always Be My Baby, again another top 3 hit. So that one, I kind of feel like interestingly now, when you go on Spotify, Mariah's number 1 most listened to song currently is Always Be My Baby, is always near the top, always.
Yeah.
So that one is kind of like really stuck around. And then another one was a massive hit in this country was the one with Busta Rhymes, I Know What You Want. That was a top 3 hit also.
I remember that was number 3
hit.
because I remember being pleasantly surprised and very happy that, what was that, 2003, 4, that I was like, wow, okay, so 2003. So we have that.
Was Charm Bracelet era.
So Charm Bracelet was late 2002, and then the reissue, when that was included, would have been, I think, 2003. But anyway, I just remember being like, wow, okay, I'm so happy that Mariah is putting out. I know it's not a Mariah song, but it really was like Busta and Mariah. It annoyed me a little bit. She wasn't on this artwork of the CD single, because people weren't like, oh, it's Busta, and like there's someone, they knew it was Busta and Mariah. The video was Busta and Mariah, and the CD artwork was Busta. And I was like, no, but she's such a part of the song. And I felt like I was just so happy that it got it went to number 3 at that point. It felt very significant for Mariah at that point.
Yeah, it was, especially after the Glitter era. That was kind of like, because that was another thing actually. We give Mariah here in this country, sorry to brag, although I'm not a massive fan of this song, but Through the Rain was a top 10 hit here, whereas in America it wasn't.
Was it number 7 didn't do that well or something?
I think it went out number 7, number 8. Let me just get the thing up, but it was top 10 anyway.
It was.
And when you think about Glitter era, which it followed, I've got it here.
And we were just as nasty in the
number
press
8
here. Number 8. Okay, so we were just as mean to Mariah about Glitter over here as everyone was in America. It's not like she had like an easy time or a free pass over here, not at all. And again, thank you for the reminder. Through the Rain, UK top 10. So the UK,
Yeah.
we did that.
Hey everyone, my name is Tyrone. I am a custom wig maker based in London. If you guys would like a new wig for the summer or a new wig for everyday life, please don't hesitate to send me a direct message. I make all kinds of wigs, straight, curly, crinkly, long, short, blonde, auburn, green, anything, you name it, I can make it for you. And the good thing about my wigs, I send them all out by post, so you don't have to come to me, the wigs will come to you. So check out my wigs on Instagram at BaldyLocksWigs or at Facebook at BaldyLocks_wigs. Stay safe, everyone.
I can go through a few more of the like top 5 hits. Fantasy was a big one. That Fantasy has continued to sell in this country in terms of like streaming and stuff. It's probably one of the most streamed songs in the UK. It's recently been certified platinum, so that means that it's definitely still selling. It was only last year that it actually reached platinum, so that's one that's kind of stood the test of time. That's really popular on TikTok. Like that's going viral constantly. There's that film coming out as well.
I was going to say, there's that movie coming out. It's been delayed
that
like
should
3
help
times or something, and that's seems
Ryan
like
Reynolds,
it's a key
isn't
part. Yeah, like the song "Fantasy" is in the trailer. I forget. Is it called Free Guy? Free something?
That name rings a bell, but I've read that it's coming out now in August, September. So that should hopefully help.
Back. So
yeah,
breathe more life into
help
Fantasy. Do it.
Yeah,
by all
come
means.
on, do it definitely, because that is one of my all-time favorite. Another hit, another song that was a big hit over here. Again, another cover version that wasn't big in America. Open Arms, like that was a big hit here. Number 4
because it's a cover.
A cover.
Yeah.
And in America, that wasn't really a big hit. It's crazy when you compare how much we love a cover version compared to when you look at the charts in America. And the cover versions over there didn't do that well. Like Without You is one of the biggest hits here. Number 1. It was not number 1 in America, but it was a number 1 in the UK.
In Europe, Mariah has done very well with the cover songs because I think there's that familiarity. Like, we know that song, we love that song, and they're open to the rendition. I do credit, I believe it was Nick Cannon that convinced Mariah to, do. Not specifically, I Want to Know What Love Is, but he reminded her, like, you always had really big success when you did a cover song, like reaching back into the 80s, putting forward a song. I think it was an interview where they kind of spoke about it. Tyrone, do you remember?
I remember that, but what I was going to say to you, sorry, I think if Mariah Carey was to release a cover today, I reckon it will do very well in just the time we live in. I think people, do you think, or do you disagree?
I completely disagree because now, in terms of playlists in the UK, in terms of Spotify and stuff, they don't push cover versions anymore. It's very much, unless it's a cover version, like a dance version of an old song. So if it was like, if somebody was doing a dance version of Heartbreaker, you say, like a club version, that might do well. But in terms of like a classic cover version, like Mariah, Celine, or Whitney kind of thing would do, that would not get into top playlists. And if it isn't in playlist, it can't get a hit. 100%.
I was going to say, I can't imagine something like the traditional cover we're thinking of getting doesn't work anymore. Attention or support, but I can see Mariah, and it's an idea that I had previously in terms of MC13, what she want to do, reaching into her back catalogue, taking something that maybe didn't go to number 1 and reinterpreting it with someone. So she did like a dance version of something with someone who is, with the kids or, whatever, then
that would do well. It's selling your soul for a hit. And she's been so consistent with the type of music that she's released. Like, she does the music that she enjoys. If Mariah was now to come out, I know she always has done the dance remixes, but if Mariah Carey was to jump on the trend of like, let me bring out a dance song with a hit dance producer, people will be like, you're jumping on a trend to get number 1. If she's going to jump on a trend to get number 1, I'd rather she did a song with Drake, or she did a song with like an artist that she knows, Cardi B, she knows that playlists are going to support. Rather than jumping on a dance song, I'd rather she got a number 1 hit doing a feature with somebody. For me personally, that's what I would prefer, because I just don't think that dance has ever been Mariah's thing other than the remixes.
Yeah, she loves it as like a reinterpretive, kind of moment. Yeah. I've said this before. I'm going to put it out into the universe one more time. I would love for Mariah to do something like Mary J. Blige did and come over to London, spend some time, and she had that album called The London Sessions, and
London Sessions.
she was writing with people, and she was coming up with like new songs. It was all current.
Disclosure. She worked with
and
for that
and
one.
she was, and Sam Smith, and she had a couple of like bops from that album, and I would love for
it was a good
Mariah to
album,
come
that.
over and spend some time in London and to like hook up with some producers and some singers where it's a little bit dipping into what's current in this territory, but also just like just tapping into the fact that British music is well respected and very successful, and it would just allow a different like flavor to come through. But it's a big commitment, like coming over and spending time or whatever.
I think now she's got the kids as well. Like, obviously, you don't like that comes first, doesn't it? I mean, of course, you could move the kids in now, but I feel like that is the. I kind of feel like Mariah's not pushing for a hit like that. I feel like she wants to do what she wants to do, what she thinks her fan base listens to. She's not trying to chase trends. Like, I don't feel that she's trying to do that to get a hit anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like if she does a feature, then that's fair enough. Like, if she does, like, I don't know, a song. Remember, she was working with Marshmello, the dance producer. Well, I don't know if they're working, but they had like a close relationship. Remember, he was on her social media a lot. Maybe do a song with him or something. But I don't know. Like you said, it is probably one of the only ways she's going to get a hit in the UK currently. If she either does a feature with a big artist like Drake or something, or if she does a dance version of a song or something.
In a way, I don't really care what the UK chart results are for Mariah moving forward, because she's earned her stripes, she's earned her spots,
100%.
and we've done her dirty enough in the past. I care. I really did care for All I Want #1 in the UK, because I felt like we have to do that. We fucking owe her that at this point.
We did.
But I'm more interested in what she's going to do now in terms of, okay, go with Drake, go with Ariana, go with Cardi B.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I want that 20th #1 in the US. I want that 21st, and then shut up shop. We'll see. So we said it in the previous podcast episode when you last came on. You spoke about album sales and trying to, negate that view that Mariah is not so successful outside of America, and we've danced around it a little bit here today, but we've had many a tangent and sidebar, which we love. But let's just to close this out, a few more statistics at the people to really cement the point that Mariah has been very successful with not only album sales, but singles positions and sales as well. So what other statistics do you have for us, Will?
Right, let me throw these at you. So I've got some numbers. In terms of certifications, Mariah has sold 7.8 million copies. So make of that what you will, but that is one of the most successful out of any female artist in the UK, past or present. So that's including artists in Mariah's era or afterwards. She's still up there at the top. She has spent 299 weeks in the UK top 40. So when you do that, how many years is that consistently without doing it?
It's like 4 years.
It's like
6 years.
Consistently being in the charts. So like that says enough alone. Out of them, 96 weeks in the top 10. So that's nearly 2 years being in the top 10 in the chart. That is massive.
That is massive. Impressive.
Incredible.
That's very impressive.
It's a good receipt.
Crazy impressive. It is. These are definitely receipts. Let's keep these in our pockets. So next time anybody starts saying stuff on Twitter, we're like, well, hang on. We've got the numbers here. She spent 8 weeks at #1 in total. So that's like obviously over the different singles.
That's the one. That's the number that is too low.
That is very low. Yeah.
But we have to remind ourselves she's only sadly had 3 UK #1s. So,
but if you think about it, some people haven't even had that. So listen.
Yeah. There is like at least she's definitely had one #1, because it would be very devastating if she never had one. But in terms of spending weeks in the charts, there's one song that outlives the other by a massive margin. And you can probably imagine what it is. It's All I Want for Christmas, because every year it's coming back. It's like that wasp you can't get rid of. Not that you would ever want to get rid of it, but like it keeps
What a lovely
coming back.
way! What a lovely way to put that, Will. All I want is that wasp you can't get rid of.
Well, for some people, it is a wasp, and I just think, like there you go. She's coming back, whether you like it or not. So that has spent in total now 107 weeks in the chart. So it's like 2 years solid charting. That is, and when you think, especially when you consider that it's only really popular at a certain time of year, that is actually incredible.
It only has a window each year to come out and play and to rack up those 100 plus weeks.
But after All I Want for Christmas, in terms of what spent the most amount of time in the charts, although it wasn't a number one hit, like I said, it nearly got to number one. We Belong Together. It was a massive, massive hit over it. It's platinum. It spent 26 weeks in the charts, which when you compare it to All I Want for Christmas is not quite as big, but still 26 weeks. Something actually that I do need to come back on into when we talk about All I Want for Christmas, because I just kind of forgot about that. But this is a massive, massive receipt that you can show everybody. You can say, like, listen, this is Mariah Carey at the top of her game. There is only one female artist that has ever, in the whole history of the UK charts, gone 5 times platinum with a song, and that artist is Mariah Carey. There's no other female artist that has gone 5 times platinum. All I Want for Christmas is the only one. There's a few male artists. I think Ed Sheeran's one of them, and stuff that's like, you know, really successful, like Pharrell Happy, you know, and like what was the Bruno Mars one? What's that song that he did with Mark Ronson? Do you know the Bruno Mars one? Uptown Funk.
Uptown Funk.
So you're talking like massively successful song, and Mariah is the only female artist up there with them. So that is definitely something worth pointing out. The only female artist in the history of the UK chart that has had a single go 5 times platinum. If that's not a success, then I don't know what it is, to be honest.
Hasn't she gone platinum or something with the freaking ringtone version as well? I swear I've read something in the UK.
I feel like I've read something about ringtones.
The All I Want for Christmas Is You ringtone version has sold X number, and it's like the only ringtone that's platinum or something. Or I
can imagine.
So anyone that's listening and knows, then please get in touch and let us know. But I swear there's something about, because it's not a UK single stat. It's a ringtone statistic.
Ringtone.
But
it's a massive thing at one point. Like
everyone wants to
buy ringtone.
You would buy ringtones.
Buy ringtone.
You'd pay your 99 pence or whatever on iTunes, and you would. But everyone was downloading and buying that ringtone. So I feel like she has an extra, very impressive.
Not a credit to her name.
Statistic
definitely.
There.
No, so and then all the other hits, the big hits, charting hits, again they're the cover versions. So Endless Love, I'll Be There, like they're although Hero is also up there. That's one of the most charted in the UK. It's been in the UK charts for 19 weeks. So that's like still impressive.
I wonder if is that her version, or is that including the cover version?
That's her version.
Yeah.
That's her version. Because that is one thing as well to mention about the UK charts. What we used to do here was, if a new single was coming out, so say that Mariah had Hero when she was about to bring out One Sweet Day, the shops would take Hero out of the shops. So therefore it would automatically fall out the charts, because if you couldn't buy it, it couldn't chart. So they wanted to get the next single up and coming, so they would take it out of the shop. So they'd take it out of Woolworths, they'd take it out of Our Price to make room for the next single. So they took it out of the shops basically so people would go and buy the album. So they would go and Hero wouldn't be there anymore. So like Hero's not there, so you'd have to buy a music box. And then like the next single, like, so that is why the songs didn't last as long in the charts as what you think they would. Whereas in America, like, you can still carry on charting because people listen to it on the radio and other things. Whereas in the UK, it was the actual label's choice to pull it off the charts so they could make room for the next single, or they could encourage people to buy that album instead.
Yeah.
So that is worth noting about the UK, because it's a bit different over here how they did that.
And I have heard that before, but again, very good reminder, because it is just different. It's a different game now. We've said this before. It just different rules, completely different game back then. Because that is mad. Just to remember that we had CD singles and cassette singles physically on a shelf, and it's physical stock that someone puts out, and they get an instruction from the label to withdraw it and take it off the shelves, because that's part of their business plan, because now it's time to shift the focus from the single to the album, and it's all it's not just random. There's business plans and thoughts behind it. Thank you so much, Will, for that trip down memory lane, because I needed reminding that Mariah has had that many top 10 UK hits. So it was 24 top 10 hits.
And counting.
And counting, yes.
Exactly,
Let's not
exactly.
Let's not
Exactly.
close things off. We are running out of time, but before we say goodbye, we have got just enough time to play. You know what's coming. It's time for spin, pin, or bin. So hopefully you guys know the rules. Well, you know the rules because you've played before, but everyone listening, hopefully you all know the rules. I'm going to randomly select 3 Mariah Carey songs, and you have to allocate 1 to spin, 1 to pin, and 1 to bin. Spin is love it, keep it, play it now. Bin means you throw it out, you never hear it ever again. And pin is kind of in the middle. I'll maybe play it another day. I'll put a pin in it for now, okay? So spin, pin, or bin. Here we go. Okay, it's my random generator here on my phone. The first song is Meteorite. Okay, so from the Me I
was
Am.
going to mention that before.
The Me I Am era.
When he's talking about dance songs, I was thinking of that.
The second song we have is Candy Bling from Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel. And the third song we have is All My Life, Glitter.
Hey,
Which I've got a feeling, I think I know what Will's going to do with that one. Okay, so for everyone listening, the choices are Meteorite, Candy Bling, and All My Life. Spin, pin, or bin. Will, what do you want to do?
Right. This is quite easy for me, actually. We was actually talking about this before, talking about how you was not a fan. No, not a fan. Glitter was your least favorite album, but I was
potentially
like, favorite song. Potentially,
non-committal way.
Non-committal way. I said, listen, when it comes to Glitter, for me, it is all about All My Life. Like, I love that song. So that is obviously my spin. All My Life is my spin. My pin is Meteorite. I really love that song. I feel like I wish that it had been pushed more. It was a different sound from Mariah, something that she'd not really done before, and I really, really liked it. So that was my pin. And I do like Candy Bling, but unfortunately in this list, that's going to have to be my bin.
Something
But
has
yeah,
to
I'm
take
pretty
the
set
bin.
on that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Tyrone, what do you reckon?
Ditto, same. Like I like all the songs, like, but All My Life, like they can't stand up next to that. Like Meteorite over Candy Bling, I would pick that. Candy Bling sometimes it might get a skip, but hey, like so I'm not bothered. I couldn't. If I never heard that again, I'll be fine with that.
I'm gonna spin Meteorite. I really didn't love it as much as I do now when it first came out. It really grew on me. Like you just said, well, it's something slightly different, and I love that she was experimenting with that sound. My pin is going to be All My Life, and my bin is going to be Candy Bling. And I kind of on the
Candy
fence.
Bling.
Well, I feel like I could go either way. Like, All My Life is bin adjacent. I just don't know what it is, but I could bin either. No, it sounds bad, but I don't know. Candy Bling or All My Life could go either way around, possibly.
All the Mariah songs that like we're not a fan of. Do you know what we should call it? The candy bin. We're gonna put it in the candy. We're gonna put it in the candy bin. We're gonna put it in the candy bin.
Candy Bling, is in the candy bin today in the bin for sure.
Oh.
Well, everyone listening, let me know what you would do with these 3 songs: Meteorite, Candy Bling, and All My Life. Spin, pin, or bin. Let us know on the Hey Lamb Podcast Instagram account. So it's at Hey Lamb Podcast. And while you're on Instagram, go and check out these guys. So will.m1 for Will, and Tyrone's story for Tyrone. And if you're on Twitter, then you can also catch Will on this _is_Will_, and Tyrone coming soon to wreak havoc to all the journalists that need an education on music and Mariah.
She'll get there.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me once again here on Hey Lamb. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Thank you. Yes, you will. See you later.
Bye-bye.